It began inside the Grand Hall of the Galactic Council, where hundreds of alien species filled the glowing chamber like eager spectators waiting for a long-desired punishment to finally happen. Their eyes shining with excitement instead of mercy, their voices whispering the same cruel hope that today, humanity would fall. For years the Council had feared humans, not because humans were strong, but because humans were unpredictable, adaptable, stubborn in ways no other species understood. And today they believed they finally found a way to break that reputation forever. In the center of the hall floated a massive hologram of a planet unlike anything most species had ever seen, a swirling nightmare called Kragos 15, known across the stars as the Class 15 Deathworld, a place so dangerous, so violent, so impossible that even war beasts, creatures bred purely for battle, died within minutes of touching its soil. Everything about the world was made to kill. The storms sliced the sky like razor blades, the mountains shook with hidden creatures that hunted by listening to heartbeats. The very air carried toxins that melted lungs, and the oceans boiled with acid rain. It was more a living monster than a planet. The aliens who built warships trembled at its name. The creatures who ruled galaxies avoided it entirely. Entire empires vanished trying to tame it. And this was the world the Council had chosen to send a group of humans to. Not as an experiment, as an execution. The Council chamber echoed with cruel laughter as the leaders announced the test. Let humanity prove they are as strong as they pretend to be. Send them where even monsters die. Let them show us what their pride is worth. The hall roared with approval. They didn't want proof. They wanted a funeral. And then the moment arrived, the humans stepped forward. Just 8 of them. 8 ordinary-looking figures in simple suits. No heavy weapons, no giant armor, no shields, nothing that suggested they were ready for the hell waiting for them. To the Council, humans looked fragile, soft, completely unprepared. The alien leaders smirked. They will last 10 minutes, one said. 5, another corrected. No, said a third, laughing. 3 minutes, and that is being generous. They activated the live broadcast, streaming the mission to every species across the galaxy. Billions tuned in. Billions wanted to watch humans fail. Billions gathered to witness the death of the species they envied most. The human shuttle descended through the clouds of the Deathworld like a tiny spark entering a beast's mouth. The sky turned black. Lightning cracked sideways. The winds screamed like tortured ghosts. The ground below churned with movement. Massive creatures shifting like shadows waiting for fresh prey. Inside the shuttle, the humans sat silently, strapping their helmets with calm hands, checking their tools with steady breaths. No shaking, no fear, no panic, not even a whisper. The galaxy watched in disbelief. Why are they so calm? Someone asked. Do they not understand they are going to die? Another hissed. But the humans understood everything. The shuttle hit the surface, bouncing violently as the ground split open beneath it. Molten cracks glowing bright red like the planet itself was angry at being touched. The humans stepped out. The moment their boots hit the soil, the world attacked. A storm slammed into them with the force of a collapsing star, winds twisting into sharp spirals that could tear metal apart, the toxic air thick with burning chemicals. A deafening roar shook the mountains as a colossal creature emerged. Its skin dripping acid, its eyes glowing with hunger, its claws long enough to cut a starship in half. Smaller predators circled the humans like wolves. The Council leaned forward, hungry for screams. But the screams never came. The humans didn't run. They didn't panic. They didn't even flinch. They simply looked around, taking slow, calm breaths, studying everything. Every sound, every movement, every danger. As if they had stepped into a new forest on Earth, not a death world designed to kill gods. And then, they began adapting. The first human knelt, scooping a handful of toxic mud with gloved hands, sniffing it, analyzing it. The second scanned the wind patterns, noticing how the storm moved in predictable waves. The third observed the giant creature's breathing rhythm, seeing that it paused before attacking. The fourth climbed a rock to get higher ground. The fifth drew a small knife. Not a laser, not a plasma gun, just a simple steel blade, testing the creature's skin with a quick tap. The council gasped. "Why aren't they afraid?" Someone whispered. "Why aren't they dead?" Another hissed. The humans started moving together, their bodies shifting in perfect rhythm, communicating with small gestures the aliens couldn't understand. One pointed at the ground, another at the storm, another at the creature's weak leg, another signaled wind direction. It wasn't military precision, it was instinct. Humanity's oldest instinct. Survive. Adapt. Overcome. The giant creature lunged, jaws wide enough to swallow a house. The council shouted in excitement. This was the moment humanity would die. But instead, the humans moved like water, quick, silent, fluid. They split into 3 teams without speaking, using rocks and terrain, using wind and sound, tricking the creature into stumbling on unstable ground. One human slid under its legs. One climbed its back. One cut its acid sacs. One stabbed a nerve point. They weren't panicking. They were problem-solving. And when the creature crashed to the ground, shaking the mountains as it fell, the humans stood over it, unfazed. The galaxy exploded into chaos. How is this possible? They should be dead. This planet kills everything. What are humans? But the humans weren't done shocking them. The storms grew stronger, slicing the sky. Poison clouds rolled toward them. The ground split open again. But the humans simply adjusted. They redirected their camp to higher ground, using the deadly wind as a natural barrier. They used the melting ground to forge quick traps. They harvested toxic plants to create antidotes. They mapped the planet like it was a puzzle instead of a grave. And all the while, the council grew silent. The longer the humans survived, the deeper the council's fear grew. They had sent humans here to die. Instead, they had revealed something terrifying. Humans were built for hard worlds. Humans were shaped by danger. Humans didn't fear Deathworlds. Deathworlds feared humans. The council members whispered nervously now, their confidence cracking. This cannot be real. They are not normal. They are evolving too fast. For the first time in their long rule, they felt something cold slide into their hearts, fear. The Deathworld did not take its failure kindly. Within minutes of the humans' first victory, the planet reacted like a wounded animal, unleashing horrors that no species had ever survived before. The clouds turning blood red, the winds morphing into razor spirals, the mountains cracking open to release creatures that had slept. For centuries, beasts shaped like nightmares with bones exposed and eyes that glowed like burning amber. Yet even as the Deathworld erupted in fury, the humans stood their ground, their faces marked with dirt and sweat, but their eyes sharp, steady, unbroken. The galaxy watched in disbelief as the storms that could shred metal slammed into the human camp, and the humans responded not with terror but with adjustments. Moving tents into wind shadows, covering their faces with simple masks made from local plants, and anchoring ropes into rock formations with the calmness of engineers fixing a small glitch. Meanwhile, the council chamber buzzed with panic as more and more species crowded the screens, whispering in horror at what they were seeing. Humanity wasn't supposed to survive a single hour here, and yet here they were, standing like they had been born on this monster world. A massive quake tore the ground open beneath them, revealing a molten river of glowing red rock. But instead of running away, the humans used it, taking heated stones to craft makeshift tools, warming the area to keep small predators away, and turning a dangerous crack into a protective barrier. The Deathworld creatures watched them with growing unease, their instincts confused. These humans didn't behave like prey, didn't smell like prey, didn't move like prey. They moved like something older, something familiar to only one kind of creature: survivors. In the council, one elder alien trembled as he recognized the humans' behavior. They are adapting. The world is changing, and they are changing faster, he whispered, his voice shaking. This is not strength. This is something worse. This is evolution happening in real time. But the truth was even more terrifying. The humans weren't evolving. They had always been like this. They were simply remembering. As the toxic winds intensified, blowing clouds of acid across the surface, the youngest human among the group, a woman barely in her 20s, stepped forward with a calm determination that made even the creatures hesitate. She cut a patch of poisonous vines, squeezed them, and created a salve that neutralized the burning air on their skin. The council stared in disbelief. How did she know that would work? Someone cried out, but the answer was simple. Humans experiment, adapt, learn, and master faster than fear can stop them. A giant shadow then approached from the horizon, shaking the ground with each step, its roar echoing like thunder exploding inside a cave. A beast with horns shaped like blades and a body covered in rocky armor. The council leaned forward eagerly. This creature had wiped out entire platoons of machines. Surely it would end the humans. But the humans didn't run. They didn't scream. Instead, they stood shoulder to shoulder, breathing slowly, eyes locked on the beast, whispering to each other not in fear but in planning. One pointed at its weak joints. One noticed its breathing pattern. One measured its distance with a simple glance. When the creature charged, the humans split in perfect coordination, using the storm winds to blind it, using the molten cracks to force its steps, using their own flexibility to dodge its attacks with movements so natural they looked almost graceful. Their strategy was flawless, not because they were stronger, not because they had better weapons, but because they had each other. Humanity didn't survive by being the fastest or the strongest. They survived by being united. And when the creature fell, crashing down like a collapsing mountain, the humans didn't roar in victory. They didn't celebrate. They simply placed a hand on the creature's head, closing its eyes with quiet respect. The entire galaxy froze. Why do they show mercy? An alien whispered. It tried to kill them. Another answered with a shaking voice. Because humans understand pain. And that single act, the act of honoring an enemy, terrified the council more than any victory could have. Because a species that shows mercy in a place meant for death is a species the galaxy cannot control. The humans then set up camp using parts of the creature they had defeated, creating tools, shelter, and even medicine, all while speaking softly, working together calmly, and adapting as if the Deathworld were simply another challenge in a long line of challenges humanity had already overcome. Watching them, the council felt something new crawling into their hearts, an emotion far heavier than fear, respect, and it hurt them, because they had not sent humans here to rise. They had sent them here to fall. But humanity was rising anyway as the humans settled into their temporary camp. The Deathworld shifted again, almost as if the planet itself refused to accept defeat. The sky darkening into an unnatural purple haze while the ground vibrated with a slow, deep rumble that felt like the heartbeat of a giant beast hidden beneath the crust, and across the galaxy billions held their breath, watching the live feed with wide, terrified eyes as the humans stood quietly, alert, sensing the change before any alarm could sound. The predators that roamed the land suddenly halted mid-prowl, sniffing the air nervously, their bodies lowering in submission to something far more powerful approaching from beneath the earth, and the humans exchanged quick glances, not of fear but of understanding, their instincts sharpening like blades. They had felt this kind of tension before, on Earth during storms, earthquakes, wars, moments when nature warned them of danger through subtle clues. The council leaned forward, whispering anxiously, "Finally, the planet will end them now. Nothing survives what's coming." But even their voices carried doubt, because humans had already defied every expectation. The rumbling grew louder, cracks spreading across the soil around the human camp, glowing with blue-green light as toxic gas hissed upward. And then the ground exploded open with violent force as a titanic creature emerged. 10 times larger than the last one, covered in thick bone armor shaped like knives, its mouth dripping with neurotoxin, its eyes burning with ancient rage that only Deathworld monsters carried. The galaxy screamed in unison, but the humans didn't. They simply moved, slow, controlled, steady, falling into formation without a single word. One stepped forward, unafraid, raising a hand to test the wind direction. Another measured the creature's breathing rhythm. Another quietly secured ropes to a stone pillar. Another climbed onto a ledge to get a higher view. It was surreal to anyone watching. This wasn't panic, this wasn't fear. This was calculation. Deep, instinctive human calculation. The creature roared, a sound that cracked boulders and sent shockwaves across the plains, knocking alien drones from the sky. Yet the humans remained rooted, their legs bending slightly to absorb the impact. their ears ringing but their minds razor-sharp. The council shook in disbelief. "Why don't they run?" one whispered. "Why aren't they screaming?" another demanded. But humans didn't scream in the face of danger. They focused. They adapted. They survived. The creature lunged, its massive jaws opening to swallow two humans whole. But the group moved like flowing water, splitting to the sides, using its momentum against it, forcing it to stumble over unstable ground where the earlier quake had loosened rocks. The humans climbed its legs, stabbed pressure points behind its armor, used makeshift spears made of sharpened bone from the last creature, and dropped heated stones into its toxic sacs to disrupt its breath. It writhed in pain, thrashing violently, and the galaxy gasped as humans clung onto its massive form with pure determination carved into their faces. Their bodies scraped and bruised, but their eyes fierce and burning with the same fire that carried humanity through centuries of storms and wars. One human was thrown violently across the ground, rolling into sharp rocks, blood streaming down their arm, and for the first time the council felt a flicker of satisfaction. "Finally, they will break," they whispered. But then they watched the injured human grit their teeth, push themselves up with trembling arms, and run right back into the fight without hesitation. That single moment, one wounded human refusing to stay down, hit harder than any battle could. The entire galaxy went silent, realizing they had underestimated the scariest thing about humans. They don't stop, ever. The humans continued the fight with a terrifying unity, calling out short commands, helping each other climb, pulling each other back from poisonous strikes, refusing to abandon even the weakest among them. And slowly, painfully, impossibly, they brought the beast down. The creature collapsed with an earth-shaking crash, dust exploding into the sky, the land trembling beneath its weight. The humans stood over it panting, wounded, exhausted, covered in dirt and sweat and blood, but alive. Entire council members slumped back in their seats, trembling with a mixture of fear and disbelief. "This is impossible," one whispered. "No species adapts this fast." Another swallowed hard. "No species fights like this." A third shook violently. "No species cares for each other this much, even when everything is dying around them." And at that moment the truth hit them harder than the monster's roar. Humans don't survive because they are the strongest. They survive because they refuse to abandon anyone. They survive because they turn fear into strategy. They survive because they learn faster than death can kill. As the humans placed a hand on the fallen creature's head again, honoring it the same way they honored the last one, the galaxy felt something far colder than fear settle in their hearts. The Deathworld didn't break the humans were breaking the Deathworld. The Deathworld went unnaturally quiet after the fall of the Titan beast, the wind slowing to an eerie whisper, the toxic fog pulling back like a frightened animal, and every creature within miles retreating into the shadows as if the planet itself was reevaluating its challenge, trying to understand what kind of beings had just defied its oldest predator. The humans stood among the broken rocks, their bodies bruised, breathing heavy, but their expressions carried a strange blend of calm determination and deep sadness, because they did not celebrate victories the way alien empires did. They honored the struggle, respected the life lost, and felt the weight of every battle in their bones. The galaxy watched in silence now, no longer mocking, no longer waiting for humans to fall, but trembling as they finally understood that humans did not fight for pride. They fought because something inside them refused to be defeated. But the council was not ready to accept this truth, not ready to admit their plan had failed. So they forced the planet to react by activating seismic disruptors hidden deep under its surface. Technology the council had planted secretly, hoping to help the Deathworld finish what it started. The ground beneath the humans shuddered violently, splitting open again as violent quakes tore through the land, sending molten stone exploding upward like fountains of liquid fire. Massive geysers of acid erupted from hidden pits, creating rivers of steaming death, and a monstrous thunderstorm formed instantly overhead, the sky turning dark blue as lightning spiraled out of control. The humans stumbled but regained balance quickly, eyes narrowing, not angry, not afraid, but disappointed that someone, somewhere, was trying to make this world kill them intentionally. Yet they adapted again, moving to high ground, using broken pieces of the Titan creature to shield themselves from acid rain. and carrying injured teammates with gentle hands while planning their next steps. One human, bleeding from a cut on her forehead, stopped for a moment, placing her hand on the ground as if listening to the heartbeat of the world, and whispered quietly, "This isn't natural. Someone is doing this." The rest nodded, understanding instantly. Humans had a strange gift that no other species possessed. They could feel when danger came from nature, and when it came from living beings. The council panicked when they saw this. "They figured it out!" one leader shouted, gripping the edge of his desk. "How? How?" But the answer was simple. Humans don't just survive. They observe. They learn. They remember. And because of that, nothing could be hidden from them for long. The seismic waves grew worse, ripping entire mountainsides apart, creating deadly landslides of burning stone. Alien spectators screamed in fear, yet the humans worked with terrifying calmness, using their bodies to shield each other, calculating each quake and sprinting between collapsing cliffs with impossible precision. When a huge chunk of rock broke free above one human, a young man barely in his 30s, the others threw themselves under it together, lifting the weight with their shoulders as their legs shook but never gave out. The galaxy gasped as they watched this. No species risked their life for one member. None. But humans did it without thinking. The council felt their confidence fall apart as one elder muttered shakily, "This is why no monster on this planet can kill them. They don't fight alone." The storm above grew worse, lightning cracking the ground, and acid rain melting through the rocks. Yet the humans kept moving, dragging injured teammates up steep ledges, covering their bodies with their own jackets, and offering comfort even while death loomed over them. One human collapsed, exhausted, the toxin clouds burning their lungs, but another carried them on their back, whispering, "You're not dying here. Not today." That simple sentence traveled through the galaxy like a shockwave. Species watching from their homes felt their chests tighten. Many cried. Many whispered, "If humans protect each other like this, then what would they do to protect their home?" Finally, the humans reached a stable ridge just as the storm reached its peak. But instead of resting, they formed a circle, checking each other's wounds, sharing water, giving courage with small smiles. These simple actions, these human actions, cut deeper into the council's pride than any victory. Because the galaxy suddenly understood something they had forgotten for centuries. Strength is not muscles. Strength is not weapons. Strength is not monsters. Real strength is loyalty. Real strength is unity, and humans had more of it than any species alive. As the storm raged around them, the humans looked at the sky, not in fear but in defiance, their silhouettes lit by lightning, standing tall against a world designed to kill them, and the Deathworld itself seemed to hesitate. Its storms slowing, its winds weakening, the ground calming slightly, almost as if the planet was confused or impressed. The galaxy felt a shiver run through them. The council felt dread tighten in their chests. Because no matter how many storms the Deathworld unleashed, no matter how many monsters it sent, no matter how many quakes it triggered, the humans were still standing, and the planet was beginning to bend to them. As the storm finally weakened and the ground stopped screaming, the Deathworld entered a strange, unnatural stillness, a silence so deep that it felt as if the entire planet was holding its breath, watching the humans with a mixture of confusion and reluctant respect. And this change did not go unnoticed by the council, who stared at the live feed with wide, horrified eyes as they realized the impossible. This Class 15 Deathworld was no longer attacking humans with fury. It was observing them, studying them, and almost adjusting to them. Never in recorded history had the Deathworld paused its endless violence. Yet here it was, the toxic winds settling, the predators staying hidden, the sky shifting to a calmer shade, as if the world itself acknowledged that these beings were not prey but something far more dangerous. The humans sat together on the ridge they had climbed, tired but not broken, their bodies covered in cuts and burns, but their spirits burning hotter than the lava beneath the ground. They checked each other's wounds with gentle hands, offering water, sharing warmth, and whispering soft encouragement. Small acts of care that no alien species understood, because in most worlds the weak are abandoned, but in humanity, the weak are protected first. This single truth spread through the galaxy like fire. Billions watched, their hearts pounding, because this wasn't strength born from brutality. It was strength born from compassion. And compassion is the rarest weapon in the universe. The council leaders felt dread curling in their stomachs. "They're not fighting the planet anymore," one whispered shakily. "The planet is responding to them." Another slammed his fist against the table, fear shining in his eyes. "No Deathworld adapts to visitors. This is wrong. It's unnatural. This should be impossible." But it wasn't impossible. It was human. The humans stood again, moving across the now calm terrain with quiet purpose, repurposing broken bones from slain monsters into tools, shaping leaves into makeshift medical wraps, and using deep cracks in the ground like natural trenches to protect their wounded. They weren't just surviving, they were building. They were creating safety out of chaos. They were shaping the planet to suit them, one decision at a time, one breath at a time, one act of bravery at a time. And the planet, unbelievably, shifted again. Small creatures emerged cautiously from holes, creeping closer to the humans, not in attack but in curiosity, sniffing the air, their glowing eyes blinking with strange recognition. One injured creature, a small predator with cracked ribs, limped toward the humans, trembling in pain. The council gasped in horror. "It will attack them. It's desperate. It's a trap." But it wasn't. It was hurting. And the humans saw that instantly. Without hesitation, a human knelt down, speaking softly, offering water, gently wrapping its damaged side with plant fibers. The creature didn't bite. It didn't snarl. It simply watched the human with wide, confused eyes that had never before seen mercy. The moment traveled across the galaxy like a shockwave. Billions went silent. The council felt a cold shiver climb up their spines. Because no species heals the enemy. No species helps a predator. No species shows kindness on a world designed for cruelty. But humans did. And the Deathworld felt it. The winds shifted again, warmer now, the toxic air thinning slightly, the land trembling not with violence but with slow, steady movement, as if the planet was adjusting its own heartbeat to match the humans. Then the ground rumbled with a warning. Not anger this time, but a signal. Something enormous was approaching. The humans immediately spread out, preparing to either defend or run depending on what came. But even in preparation, they stayed close to each other, ready to shield the weakest, ready to sacrifice themselves if needed. The galaxy held its breath as a gigantic shadow fell over the ridge, larger than any creature seen before. A monstrous shape moving through the fog with legs like stone pillars and a body covered in thick spikes. The council screamed. "This is it. Nothing survives this one. Nothing." But the humans didn't move. They didn't run. They simply stood, their bodies tense, their eyes sharp, trusting each other, trusting their instincts, trusting that no matter what came next, they would face it as one. The creature roared, shaking entire valleys, but the humans stayed rooted, unmoving, their presence steady and fearless. And then something terrifying happened. The giant creature stopped. It lowered its head. And it backed away. The entire galaxy froze. The council went pale with terror. Because creatures on this planet only submit to one thing, a superior predator. And the humans had just been acknowledged as the apex species. The Deathworld had chosen its rulers. And they weren't the council, they were the humans. The council felt their control slipping, their pride cracking, their hatred turning into fear. Because in that moment, the entire galaxy understood the truth the council had tried to hide for centuries. Humans don't fit into the universe, humans remake the universe to fit them. The humans stood atop the ridge as storms calmed, monsters bowed, and the Deathworld itself became silent around them, and every species watching knew the same horrifying, beautiful truth. These humans were not merely surviving, they were claiming the world. The moment the giant creature backed away from the humans, the entire Deathworld seemed to shift again. Not with violence this time, but with a strange trembling energy. Like the planet itself was trying to understand these strange beings who refused to die, refused to break, refused to surrender even when nature itself tried to crush them. Deep beneath the crust, ancient tunnels vibrated like hollow bones awakening from centuries of sleep, and glowing veins of toxic minerals pulsed brighter, as if something massive and old was stirring far below. The humans sensed the shift before any alien device did. The air grew colder, the sky dimmed unnaturally, and the ground's heartbeat changed rhythm, becoming slower, deeper, more dangerous. Every predator within miles fled into darkness, their instincts screaming warnings. And in the Galactic Council chamber, panic erupted like wildfire as their sensors triggered alarms they had never witnessed before. Subterranean mega-organism awakening, threat level beyond planetary scale, unknown entity rising. And for the first time, the Council realized this test had spiraled far beyond anything they could control. But the humans did not panic. They stood on the ridge, silent and watchful, sensing the dread rising from the earth like a living shadow. Their leader, a man with a scar running down his cheek, placed his palm on the trembling ground and whispered softly, "Something is coming. Something big." The others nodded, adjusting their makeshift weapons, tightening grips, checking each other's wounds one last time. They were exhausted, bloodied, bruised, but their eyes carried a fierce calm, a calm that terrified the Council more than any monster could. The ground cracked open with a bone-shattering roar, splitting the cliff into jagged shards as a colossal form pushed upward, spraying molten rock and toxic gas into the sky. The galaxy watched in horror as a creature larger than any mountain emerged, its body covered in thick-plated armor, its skin glowing with liquid fire, its mouth wide enough to swallow cities whole. Some species fainted at the sight. Others turned away, unable to watch. Even the Council leaders froze, shaking violently as they realized what they had awakened. This is the planet's core guardian," one chancellor whispered, his voice cracking. "This is what Deathworlds create when they are pushed too far." But the humans didn't retreat. They didn't beg for help. They didn't even blink. They simply spread out, forming a wide circle, their movements calm, steady, unwavering. The creature roared, the sound so powerful it cracked the stone under their feet. But the humans leaned into the shockwave, refusing to fall. They had endured storms. They had survived molten floods. They had conquered predators. Now they faced the planet's oldest king. The monster charged, shaking the world with every step, and the galaxy screamed in terror. But the humans moved with surgical precision, splitting into two teams, leading the creature away from their wounded, drawing it toward terrain that favored them. They used everything they had learned: wind direction, ground density, creature patterns, and somehow, impossibly, they stayed alive. One human was thrown across a ravine, slamming into rock so hard the viewers expected him to die instantly. But he stood, coughing blood, wiping his mouth, whispering, "Still here," and sprinted back into the fight. Another human used a burning branch to blind one of the creature's eyes. A third dug into the ground, carving out minerals that reacted with heat to create explosive powder. A fourth climbed the creature's spikes, gripping them with bleeding hands while shouting instructions to the others. It wasn't strength. It wasn't power. It was will. Pure, unbreakable human will. And that scared the galaxy more than the monster did. The creature slammed its massive tail, shattering the ridge, sending humans tumbling down the mountain. But instead of dying, they formed a chain, grabbing each other's arms, pulling each other up with teeth clenched and tears streaming. Not a single one let go. Not a single one accepted death. Not a single one left another behind. The Council stared in disbelief. They're refusing to die," one whispered. Another shook his head, trembling. "No, they're refusing to let each other die." That realization cracked the Council's arrogance like glass. This wasn't a species that conquered through fear. This wasn't a species that survived through brutality. This was a species that endured because they carried each other. Nothing in the galaxy could compete with that. As the creature prepared for one final devastating strike, the humans acted together. One team baiting the monster into stepping onto unstable ground, another team detonating explosive minerals beneath its legs, a third climbing up its back to strike its nerve clusters. The explosion shook the valley. The monster stumbled. The humans leaped, stabbed, pushed, pulled. Every action fused into one perfect, desperate moment of unity. And the impossible happened. The Titan fell, a creature older than mountains, being feared by every species, a guardian of a world that killed gods, it fell because humans refused to break. The galaxy erupted into chaos, some crying, some trembling, some whispering prayers, and many realizing the truth they spent centuries denying. If humans can survive a Class 15 Deathworld, then there is nothing in the universe capable of stopping them. The humans didn't cheer. They didn't roar in victory. They simply stood around the fallen giant, touching its head with respect, whispering tired apologies for taking its life. The council felt their hearts sink. Kindness in victory, mercy in dominance, respect in battle. No species was like this. Nobody could be like this. And that made humans the most terrifying force in the galaxy. They win, and still remain human. The fall of the colossal guardian sent a shockwave across the entire Deathworld. A deep trembling groan that rolled through mountains, forests, and toxic rivers like the planet itself was mourning its ancient protector, and as the humans stood bruised and panting in the settling dust, the world around them fell into a strange, reverent silence, as if acknowledging the strength of the beings who had survived everything it threw at them. The sky, once filled with violent storms, softened into shades of orange and blue. The boiling winds cooled into calm breezes. Even the predators, those ruthless creatures carved by nature's cruelest instincts, peeked out from hiding, watching the humans with wide, cautious eyes, not in hunger, but in awe. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council stared at their screens with a horror so deep it felt like their bones were freezing from the inside, because the truth they spent centuries denying was now impossible to ignore. These humans, these fragile beings made of soft flesh and thin bones, had survived, adapted, fought, and conquered a Class 15 Deathworld, something no monster, no empire, no warrior had ever done. Some council members collapsed into their seats, trembling. Others covered their mouths, unable to speak. One elder with shaking hands whispered, "This world was supposed to break them. Instead, they broke the world." The surviving species watching the broadcast cried openly, because in the humans' victory they saw something beautiful, something terrifying, something ancient, humanity's ability to rise against the impossible again and again. And on the surface of the planet, the humans gathered around the fallen Titan, not with cheers, not with arrogance, but with quiet sorrow. One human touched the creature's molten armor gently, whispering a soft apology. "You were only defending your home, like we defend ours." Those words traveled through the galaxy like a blade of truth. Humans did not hate the world that tried to kill them. They understood it. They respected it. They forgave it. And nothing frightened the council more than that, because mercy from the strong is far more terrifying than cruelty from the powerful. As the planet continued to calm, strange things began to happen. Flora that once tried to poison the humans now grew softly where they stepped, vines curling harmlessly around their boots. Small predators approached and rested near their feet, no longer afraid. The toxic air thinned even more, as if the planet itself was learning how to breathe with them. One human looked around slowly, his voice filled with quiet disbelief as he whispered, "It's changing that for us." Another nodded, tears in her eyes. "Maybe it understands we didn't come to destroy it." They stood together, covered in dirt and blood but still standing, still watching over each other with unshakable loyalty. And the Deathworld responded by moving gently, the tremors soft like a heartbeat syncing with theirs. The galaxy felt that shift, felt the world accepting humans as something foreign and familiar at the same time, something dangerous and gentle, something that didn't belong anywhere but could survive everywhere. And when the humans climbed the ridge to look over the vast land they had conquered with their courage instead of weapons, their silhouettes framed against the calming sky, the entire galaxy knew they were witnessing the birth of a legend. But the council felt something darker stirring inside them. Fear wrapped in shame, regret wrapped in panic, because they had not only failed to kill humanity, they had revealed to the universe what humans truly were. A species that did not dominate through force, but through heart. A species that respected even the monsters that tried to kill them. A species that could turn the deadliest world in existence into a place that bowed its head in peace. The council leader finally whispered the words none of them wanted to admit. "We did not test them. We awakened them." And the galaxy trembled because everyone understood what that meant. The humans were not just survivors. They were the future. As the humans stood on the highest ridge of the Deathworld, the world they had survived, the world that had tried to kill them again and again, the world every species feared, the sky above shifted into colors no one had ever recorded, deep gold mixing with soft blue, casting a warm glow over the planet as if the world itself were bowing in silent respect. And for the first time since their arrival, the humans felt peace settle over the land like a gentle embrace. The predators that once hunted them roamed quietly at a distance, watching with lowered heads. The winds that once screamed with poison now carried fresh air. The storms that once burned the sky now drifted apart like soft clouds. And the giant corpse of the guardian beast lay still, its massive form glowing softly as the ground beneath it pulsed with gentle energy, almost as if the planet were mourning it with dignity instead of rage. The Galactic Council watched in stunned silence, their pride shattered completely, their faces pale with the realization that they had not just failed in their attempt to destroy humanity. They had accidentally given humanity the stage to show the universe who they truly were. The humans began gathering their tools, helping the injured walk, supporting the tired with strong arms, checking on every single teammate with soft voices and tired smiles. And this sight, this gentle unity after endless violence, hit the galaxy harder than any battle could. Because strength wasn't what terrified them anymore. The humanity of humans did. They saw how humans shared their last drops of water, how they carried the weak, how they whispered jokes to keep spirits alive, how they refused to leave even a single person behind. One human kneeled next to the injured little predator they had healed earlier, giving it the last piece of fruit from their pack, and the creature leaned into their hand, closing its eyes as if trusting them completely. The galaxy fell silent at that moment. Even the council felt a sting in their chests, something sharp and painful, because what they were witnessing wasn't survival. It was connection. A connection no other species on that planet had ever made. The humans then climbed higher to send their final transmission. Their leader, tired, bruised, but standing tall like the mountains around him, activated the beacon. Billions across the galaxy watched, holding their breath. The leader did not shout. He did not brag. He did not threaten. He just spoke in calm, steady words that hit the galaxy like thunder. Class 15 Deathworld is stable, habitable for long-term human settlement. We request permission to build. The council gasped. Build? Humans wanted to build on this nightmare world? But the humans weren't done. The leader continued, his voice carrying a warmth that melted through every screen across the stars. This planet fought us. We fought back. But now, look at it. It doesn't need fear. It needs understanding. So we will stay. We will help it heal. We will make it better. The galaxy trembled. The council froze completely, because no one had ever spoken of a death world with such compassion. No species had ever survived it, let alone saw beauty in it, let alone wanted to protect it. It was the kind of thinking that only humans had, and that made them unstoppable. The death world itself responded, the ground vibrating softly beneath the humans' feet, as if giving permission. Tiny plants that once released poison now bloomed with harmless blue flowers. The air cleared even more, and in the distance, the same massive creature that had bowed earlier let out a low, mournful call, a sound of respect rather than intimidation. Across the galaxy, messages flooded from species everywhere. Offers of alliance, apologies for underestimating humans, pleas for cooperation. But the council remained silent, humiliated, broken. Because humans had done what no empire could. They turned death into life. They turned war into healing. They turned fear into a WS. The humans looked at the horizon, standing together like a single unbreakable heart beating on top of the deadliest world in history. The galaxy finally understood the truth that would be remembered for thousands of years. You cannot destroy humanity. You cannot control humanity. You cannot predict humanity. Because humans don't just survive the impossible. They make the impossible follow them. And with that, humanity took its first step into the new world, a world that once killed everything it touched, now bending gently under their feet, ready to become their home, ready to become their legacy, ready to become the first death world ever conquered, not by strength, not by force, but by the heart of a human.